Thanks for being here. I'm Steve Bosquet. Dan Sweeney is here, my colleague, and Pat Beal, who is an editorial writer for us. Let me start with you, Danny.
Sure.
Tell us why you're running for this office.
Why I'm running for this office? Well, I moved here about a year ago from Davie. So I've been a Broward resident most of my life, living in Florida. And I find Boynton Beach to be home for us. Me and my husband live here, and this really seems to feel like home. So I really want to be more active in the community. And now at this point where I'm semi-retired, I have a lot more time to spend in the community, which I've been doing. And that's really the main reason I'm running. I really want to help our city to grow and to be a great place to live.
What would you do differently than the current commissioner in this district is doing?
Uh-oh, she's looking at me. Really, I mean, one of the main things, not much difference, but I think maybe just we have a little bit of differences. Our age for one thing. So I'm more focused on seniors. So that's one thing. I have a lot more time too. I only work 2 days a week. So I have a lot more time to maybe devote to it. But otherwise, I don't think much between either of the other candidates. Really, I don't think anything separates us, really. I don't want to say anything negative about any of them.
Okay. What's the approximate size of this current city budget of Boynton Beach?
Yes, the current, what is it? I don't know exactly. I think last time I looked, it was, I would just be guessing, but it's like 80 million.
80 million. Aimee, Kelley, does that sound right?
It's a little bit off, $267 million.
Yeah.
Okay. 267 million.
I meant to say 80 times 4.
Aimee, I just heard that you're the incumbent. We just heard Danny say that he has more time to devote to the position than you do. Is he right about that?
I think that maybe in a time frame wise, but in a dedication and service to the residents, I give everything that I have to the residents, and I feel like I am serving them in the best of my ability, no matter the time that I have available.
Okay. We'll get back to you in just a second. I want to ask Tom Ramiccio why you're running for the city commission as well, Tom. I asked Tom Ramiccio to tell us why. Oh,
I can't hear anything.
Okay.
Tom, can you hear me? No.
No.
That's probably a sound issue on his end then.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep.
I can't hear anything you're saying. I hear nothing. So I'd like to be interviewed. I have no idea what you're saying. All I see is your lips move, and I apologize. I see my microphone is on.
He'd be able to call in and be able to hear the questions via phone at least.
That's doable.
Yeah. This happened once today already in another.
Anyway, I have no way of. I don't even know what to say. If you type in what you'd like for me to say, I cannot hear anything, guys. Nothing.
Can you see
my
the
microphone's on? The volume's all the way up.
We could do that, damn it. It would take
I'm on
about
these
3
every
hours.
day, so it's. Do you see? I see your chat. I see where you're typing.
Yes. Okay, so.
Yes, I'll get my phone and I'll come on by phone.
Okay. In the meantime, Steve, were you asking Were you asking Aimee a question there? Oh,
Yeah,
you
let
wanted
me-
to go, Tom, but while we're waiting.
I'm going to digress for a moment. Aimee, I want to ask you something. You said in your questionnaire that you served as a member of the CRA advisory board in Boynton Beach, right?
Yes.
Can you put that number back up, please, Dan?
Before I was appointed to the city commission, I served on the CRA advisory board. And
Right.
I also currently serve on the Palm Beach County Advisory Commission on Women.
Yep. Okay, so you were initially appointed to the city commission, not elected, right?
Correct. I was appointed, this is my second appointment. I was appointed back
The
in,
meeting VIN, followed by the pound key. Ah,
Sorry about that.
it's okay.
Your call will be connected when you enter the PIN followed by the pound key.
mm.
Your call will be connected when you trip.
Ah. How embarrassing.
That's all right. Let me see.
Technology makes all our lives easier, right?
Can you see it on my phone?
Thank you. The number you dialed or the PIN you entered doesn't match a meeting that's ready to start soon. Enter the meeting PIN followed by the pound key.
I apologize, guys.
It's all right. Maybe if you try starting it again,
It's not going
Just
through.
get out of this meeting.
725-173.
Your call will be connected when you enter the PIN followed by the pound key.
I've entered it.
Your call will be connected when you enter the PIN followed by the pound key.
I did it already.
Your call will be
Sorry,
Steve,
guys.
should we try
I
to
don't know what to say.
be cognizant of everybody else's time? Should we try to set up something else with Tom down the road?
We
Very
can, yes.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what else to do. I
Um,
don't, we've run out of options here. I mean, we can try to post the questions in the chat room, but that's gonna, That's awfully-
It'll take forever.
okay, all right.
Um,
Thank you.
okay.
I
Yeah,
apologize.
Sorry,
no worries.
thanks, Tom.
No worries. Okay. Well, we will soldier on without Tom. We will follow up with him in a later phone
will.
call. So he'll have every opportunity to talk with us as well.
I wanted to ask Aimee Kelley. Aimee, tell us a little bit about the circumstances by which you initially were appointed to the city commission.
Okay, so when State Representative Joe Costello won his seat and was appointed and was made, ran for state rep and became state rep, it opened up a vacancy in District 4. I applied for that appointment, and by that commission, commission at the time appointed me to serve a 5-month term. They didn't want someone to run after that appointment in the March election because they didn't want there to be an incumbency type of situation. That commission, that was something that they didn't want. So I had to sit out in the March 2019 election. And then due to family circumstances, I didn't run in March of 2020. And so that's how that appointment came about. And the mayor, who was the commissioner at the time, was doing a great job and I wasn't going to run against him. So I sat out March of 2020. And when he ran for mayor, it opened up the seat with the vacancy again. And I thought, well, here is my chance to serve the community again. And so I put in for the appointment and was appointed to the city commission seat.
So you've actually been appointed twice.
Correct.
How long is the time of the second appointment?
It is what I'm sitting in now. So I was appointed in April. So it'll end up being roughly 11 months by the time the election comes around.
Do you think when a vacancy occurs on a governing body of a community, whether it's a resignation, whether it could be a death, could be person could move away, do you think it's better to fill those positions by election or by appointment, or does it not matter?
Well, I mean, the appointment, it fills that vacancy until the next available election. So you would want that seat to be filled, if at all possible, so that, for voting reasons, so that you have your odd number of representatives, and that you have somebody from that district representing those residents. Because without an appointment, you would have a vacant seat, and the District 4 residents would not have a representative on the commission.
Understand. Okay. All right. Let me open the floor to either Dan or Pat Beal if they have any questions this first round.
Pat, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi all. I had a couple of fairly general questions. The first one has to do with climate and Boynton's long history of beach erosion. I mean, y'all were having terrible problems back in 2012, right? And so there was, let me see, the Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment report came out with, I think, 32 strategies that were specific to Boynton Beach. Are y'all familiar with the report, the strategy recommendations? And if so, I mean, how will you hurry them along, to get implemented? Or maybe you don't want to. Maybe they're not,
Sure. Aimee, if you don't mind, I'll answer. I do not know of this, so I won't comment at all on it because I'm not aware of it at all.
Sure. Aimee?
Yes, I have a similar answer. I don't know. I haven't reviewed that exact report, and I would like to see it. But I know that the city is doing, they're doing great things to increase solar within the city for more sustainability. And our sustainability department is looking at ways that the city can be more sustainable. I know we have electric car chargers, and we encourage that. Some of the things that they're doing, utilities, is they're changing over to more green-friendly products in our utilities department. So there are different, I don't know of that exact report, but there are ways that the city is, trying to stay on top of climate control and sustainability efforts.
Are y'all familiar with reports of flooding issues in the town? Repeated flooding in different districts?
Yes.
So
So king tide is a big issue with us, with the intercoastal area of the city. And that's something that the city is aware of, and that they're doing, making strides to update infrastructure to try and combat some of those flooding issues.
Correct. Yes. Our city, just like any other coastal city, is suffering from the climate change. There's no doubt about it. And if we don't grab a hold of it and do something about it soon, we're going to be behind the 8 ball and going to be in severe trouble, just like Hollywood, Florida is. And they have a tremendous problem and are now trying to keep up with it constantly. But climate change is real. It's here. It's happening. And we better do something about it, or one day we won't have a barrier island or any protection out there.
Aimee, you told us in your questionnaire you attended South University. Where is that?
It used to be, I don't believe they still have a West Palm location, but it was on Congress Avenue, just south of Okeechobee.
Okay, and you got an associate's degree there?
Yes, in
In
paralegal
what?
studies.
Well, I'm sorry?
I'm paralegal studies.
Right,
I've been
okay.
in litigation paralegal for 23 years.
Right. That's okay. Yep. Okay, let's talk for a minute about revitalizing the mall corridor, which is something you mentioned in your questionnaire. What strategy in your mind would effectively revitalize it?
Well, the owners of the mall did come before the city commission a couple of years back with a master plan. It was pre-COVID. COVID happened, and the mall owner filed bankruptcy. And I believe they're coming out of bankruptcy now, and I expect and hope that we will see that master plan or another master plan come back before the commission in the near future with some development proposal. It's something that it's an area that residents are concerned with. It's an area that the city staff and city commission are concerned with. It has caused, a downgrade in that whole area, and it's something that definitely does need to be revitalized and made fresh and up to date for sure.
Can you give me a little bit of example about what exactly that looks like to you? Refreshing or redevelopment of the mall area. But what do you want to see out of plans that are presented to the commission?
I mean, I think ideally for that space, the indoor mall concept is outdated, and I don't think that it's as successful as outdoor space or just a mixed use type area, similar to Renaissance Commons, similar to some of the other, developments where you have a commercial plus residential space. There's a couple of different components. We have the church that's a independently owned parcel. So you have to find out how you can incorporate also the independently owned parcels and work around them. So I don't have a clear vision, because I think that there's multiple options, and I'm interested to see what, developers come up with to be in a creative way, because there are different owners on that property. I believe there's 5 different owners within that parcel. So it's going to take a lot of working together and coming up with some creative ways to improve that area.
Mr. Ferrell, you mentioned in your questionnaire specifically about the Boynton Beach Mall and how redevelopment of that could be part of the solution toward helping affordable housing in Boynton Beach. Can you offer a little more specifics on that?
Sure, correct. I did read through the proposal that was put forth back in 2019. Very good. It sounded like a very good master plan that was done. And I really liked the fact that it was going to turn into like a village within a village. But our community is getting to be unaffordable for people that work in the city. And so we need affordable housing. So with this, I would automatically make at least 20% of the housing should be affordable workforce housing. No questions. If it's not in the plan, then it's not approved. Because we're getting to the point where people can't work and cannot live in the same city. It's just becoming too expensive. So this is our chance to take that area of town and to configure it like we want it. Let's do it as a city, configure it how we want it, not let the developers push us around, but we demand what we want from it.
Aimee, you agree with that idea? Mandate 20% of the housing be workforce housing.
Well, I think we can be creative. I think the city can be creative in maybe some incentives that you can offer to a potential developer, but you can't, we know you can't force a developer to build what we want if they own the land and they're not asking the city for anything in return. So I think the city has an opportunity to be creative, maybe in some incentives that would kind of entice a developer to add an affordable housing component to a project.
Danny, you just heard Aimee say you can't force a developer to build what the city wants. You agree?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
It's our city. It's not their city. Their developers, maybe in New York, other places, they don't really care about our community. And we really should care about our community and how it's set up. And we do have a say, and we can put certain demands in there, or we vote no on it, and they don't get approved.
I mean, it's your city, but it's their property, right? I mean,
Correct, right? But they have to go through city council for approval of a project, all right? And so if they don't get the approval from the city council, I'm telling you right now, if I was on the city council, on the commission, and certain things like the 20% of affordable housing on there, I would automatically be a no vote. It would be
If what they come back and offer you is within code and within zoning and planning, and you tell them, no, you can't do this, you need to build, more residential here. Are you opening the city up to just a lawsuit by developers?
possibly. It's quite possible, but you know what? That's what I believe. I believe that's the right thing to do. And so I wouldn't waver from it just because someone's threatening a lawsuit. I mean, that's silly to let other people try to dictate to you how your city's going to be when they aren't the ones living here. And this has gone on way too long in Boynton, and it needs to stop.
So, Aimee, what kind of incentives would you have in mind in terms of trying to prompt developers to set aside workforce housing? What do you think would be workable?
Well, so they could ask for density increases. They could ask for some height variance increases. They can ask for funding from the federal government through SHIP and TIF and other available funding sources. So there are creative ways that the city can, we can potentially waive permitting fees. We can potentially waive different fees, impact fees. We have, various different impact fees. So I think there's a couple of ways that we can get creative. And that's something that I've asked city staff to look at, are some ways that, our neighboring cities have changed incentives. Why are we not getting the affordable housing developments coming in like some of our neighboring cities? What are we not doing and capturing that will bring those businesses and that development to the city?
Aimee, why has there been, and this goes back, I guess, last year, but why has there been so much turnover at the top of the police department there?
The police chief was not effective, is my understanding, and he left and resigned. And then the interim city manager at the time appointed one of the assistant chiefs as interim police chief. And I don't know what the reason was for that abrupt change. But then she left, and we currently have a sitting police chief who is doing a fantastic job. He has, turned the morale around in the police department, and they're doing a lot of hiring incentives to get new officers and retain veteran officers and to improve the police force.
What kinds of hiring incentives?
They're doing hiring bonuses. They also increased pay. City staff is looking at ways that they can make healthcare more affordable. Our city has, I would say, in my opinion, one of the worst healthcare plans for a family. And that's something that city staff has worked very hard in the last couple months to combat the cost of healthcare for families. It's unaffordable at this point. So those are things that the city is doing and the police department is doing. They're increasing technology and increasing different services to kind of bring more officers in and make it a little bit more enticing.
Okay. I want to return to housing for just 1 second. Did Boynton Beach adopt that ordinance that was being considered, which basically says that a landlord who wants to raise rents has to give the tenant 90 days notice?
Yes, so it's the tenant Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And so, yes, it was, and it provided the tenants a little bit more notice if the landlord was going to either increase the rent by a certain percentage or if they weren't going to renew their lease.
Okay, and what was the reaction, or what was the pushback or the feedback from the apartment owner, the housing, the owners, the landlords?
I have not heard any negative feedback on that, or I'm not aware of any negative feedback.
I absolutely believe you, but I have to tell you, I'm stunned that there would be no landlords in Boynton Beach, particularly given the cost of housing, the amount of money that a landlord can make right now, and y'all didn't get any kickback on that?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I personally heard from a lot of people who are being forced out of their housing because 90 days really doesn't really help in this situation, because there's no affordable housing defined in that 90 days, so it's going up, but then so is everything else. So that's what I'm hearing, being out in the community, especially with the senior community. They're being forced out and then they have no place to go. So 90 days, 180 days, it doesn't matter. It's just, it is not working. And the only ones profiting off of it are the landlords and the developers.
Aimee, how would you describe the state of race relations in Boynton Beach these days?
I think that some recent events caused some discord in the city, but I think that that's being handled, and I think it's being it's being managed. We're implementing some community relations between, like, the PAL program was restarted. That's something that was a vital part of bridging that gap with law enforcement and the youth of our city. And so I think that we are doing what we can to help bridge that gap.
Were you a proponent or not of the idea of the Boynton Beach Police Department joining the sheriff's office?
Well, I hadn't seen the proposal. We saw a very small 12-page proposal, and they didn't present to the commission. It's our job as, city commissioners to evaluate and look at the whole picture. So I can't tell you that I was for or against it at this point, because we didn't get a true picture of what it would have looked like and what it would have cost the city and what benefits we would have received from that contract or from that proposal. It was very vague in what was presented, and so I think that it's our job to look at the best ways that we can provide the city with safety and resources and save taxpayer dollars when we can and be responsible. And we didn't have an opportunity to really look at that and see if that was an option.
Who prepared this 12-page proposal?
The sheriff's office did.
I see. Okay. Danny, do you have an opinion about that issue, about whether the police department should be maintained as independent or should it merge with the sheriff's office?
Yes. Well, I have an opinion on previously too about the relationship with the police.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Horrible. It is terrible. It's getting better. Our new chief, Julio, seems to be really interactive, and our new city manager, Mr. Duggar, are very proactive in the community. And I think we're going to start seeing changes. But right now, I just had lunch with a group of African American ladies this afternoon, and that is a worry of theirs. They brought it up numerous times about the police officers, how they only see the police officers when there's something bad. So we need to really do something to get that, because our people should not be afraid of our police officers, right? In regards to the other thing, I didn't know much about that, but once I started going to the city council meetings and I started listening to citizens and started asking other people who work for the police force, nobody liked the idea. It seemed like nobody was in favor of the idea, and thank God, I guess, that it came down to too much money was being owed to the pension fund, which finally was the final nail in this coffin. But otherwise, it sounded like it was something that was going to go through, but financially it didn't make any sense.
Okay.
Would either of y'all support a citizens review board for policing?
I always think any type of review board is great. I think the community should be involved in every aspect. There should be an proper check and balances for everything that goes on. There should be an equal amount of citizens and an equal amount of government to be able to review things. It shouldn't all be hidden behind closed doors and no input from the citizens of the city.
Aimee?
Well, it's my understanding that a citizens review board is against Florida statute. That's my understanding, and that's why it's not been something that has ever come to fruition. We have done town halls with the residents of Boynton and the police department in Boynton Beach, and we have tried many times and had many community meetings to to be open and transparent. That's my understanding. I know the police department has done town halls and has done meetings with the residents and to be transparent and share what's going on and share information and answer questions. And at the end of the day, public record, allows anyone to have access to completed reports and investigations.
Aimee, what state law are you concerned about as far as a review board? I mean, there are already some in existence. Miami-Dade has what they call independent citizens panel that looks at grievances done by the against the Miami-Dade Police Department, just as one example. So what state law are you referring to that would stop something like that happening in Boynton?
I can't give you the exact statute. I just had heard that the reason it had not been something that had been started before was because there was a Florida statute that prohibited that. But I can't give you that exact information.
Okay.
I also want to circle around to the issue of pay and benefits for the police, for your police department. I mean, clearly it sounds like there's been some recognition that they were underpaid. And I'm also very interested in what you have to say about, why the healthcare insurance plans for the city are so bad. But, obviously, if the cops have been underpaid, they've been underpaid for a long time. Who turned on the light bulb and said, this is an issue for us and we have to fix it?
Well, I think that it's over time they weren't getting increases, and so it slowly they weren't competitive anymore. They weren't competitive with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. They weren't competitive with Boca. We were losing officers to higher paying jobs, ones that had better benefits. For a while, we were losing officers because we didn't have enough take-home cars. And so PBSO, right off of the bat, you would get a take-home car. So we were losing people because other places could give them more. So maybe it wasn't necessarily that we were giving them less, but PBSO or another district was giving them more. Health insurance is a big one. We had several police officers who left and went to the sheriff's office because they had a family and they couldn't afford the health insurance. I personally, when I was in between jobs back quite a while ago, 14 years ago, my family tried to go on the police department plan and we couldn't afford it. My kids were on Florida Kid Care. So it was cost prohibitive for the police department and for city employees to have their families on the family plan. So, and I'm not sure why it has taken this long for something to be done about it. But I'm glad that they're doing something about it, because I think it's something that's important, that our employees should be able to have their families on a good health plan.
Not just the police department, but the fire department as well. All of these city services, teachers, fire department, police department, are very underpaid, and their benefits. And with the current cost of living, I really don't know how anybody can be a teacher or a fireman. You know, fireman starting pay is like under 50,000, about 49,000, I think, a year. There's no way a fireman could afford to have a place to live on such low pay for a trained professional who's saving lives. It shouldn't be that way. So if it takes increasing taxes to do it, we need to do whatever it takes to make sure these people are provided for. They should not have to not be able to afford a place to live, not be able to afford health insurance. There's no excuse for it.
Aimee, speaking of this whole issue of law enforcement and benefits and pay and stuff, a lot of communities in South Florida have serious issues with unfunded pension liabilities. Hollywood's come up in this phone conference, in this online interview here this afternoon. Hollywood's looking at serious issues with more generous benefits to police and firefighters than they can afford to pay with their current tax structure. Do you know what the situation is with that in Boynton Beach?
I'm not aware that there was, I'm not gonna say there was a pension liability, but it's stable with the city. It wasn't something that an outside agency was willing to take on. But the pension system currently in the city is stable.
Do most city employees, live in Boynton Beach or live someplace else?
I don't know what the percentage is of employees that live in the city versus those who don't. I don't have that information.
Okay. Dan, I'm asking if you have anything else on your mind.
Which Dan?
I'm sorry, Dan Sweeney.
All right.
Steve, I don't have any further questions right now.
Okay. All right. I'm going to digress for a minute, Aimee. When you served on the CRA advisory board, did you serve on the CRA advisory board with a young man named Joe Josemond?
Yes.
How did that go?
I mean, it was fine. He seemed to be willing to learn. I believe we were appointed around the same time. But I was, we only had a handful of meetings before I was then appointed to the city commission. So, I mean, he's a nice guy. I think that he's eager to learn. I don't have anything negative to say about him. I think that, he's eager and he's young. And at the time, I think he was a city employee. I'm not sure what his status is now, but. Okay.
He is I probably should have mentioned this at the outset. He's a city commission candidate in another race. Mm-hmm. And he talked about his membership on that board, and I saw it on your questionnaire. It seemed like a logical question to ask. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's all it is. Okay. Well, Aimee, how's the city manager doing? And how rigorously do you evaluate his performance?
I mean, I meet with him on a regular basis. I'm meeting with him. I meet with him twice a month, at least, to prepare for city commission meetings. I think he is doing a great job. I think that he has he is eager and he's excited for the future of the city, and the morale in City Hall has is great. Everyone's excited to be at work and serve the city, and it's great to see. It's refreshing.
Okay. Danny, any further thoughts from you about the city in general or your campaign platform or?
Sure. Yes. I'm on the senior advisory board for the city. So, I spend a lot of time working to help seniors. Our goal is to help seniors stay in their homes. So I recently had a meeting with our new city manager as well. He seems to be very in tune with the whole city, not just the downtown area that everybody's always concerned about. Usually all the money that is being talked about now is about redeveloping the downtown. He was eager to talk to me about issues that are involving the Congress corridor, areas that are other than the downtown area, So he seems like he's one that really wants to be out there and focus on the whole city, not just a specific part of the city. So I think he's going to do a great job.
You said at the top of the interview, you said you moved to Boynton Beach from Davie.
Yes.
That's a town I know pretty well. I lived in Broward for a long time.
Yes.
How long did you live in Davie?
I was in Davie for about 12 years.
Compared to somebody who's never been to either place, compare Davie to Boynton Beach. Which city is better managed, better run?
Out of the two cities, I would say Davie was the better run city. It just seemed to have more of a community aspect to it. There was always community functions going on, but of course the colleges were there too. So that really helped with the city of Davie that Boynton doesn't have. And it's just it's set up a little bit different. So there's certain things about Davie that just apply to it that just can't relate to Boynton. But I say when I like Boynton is because I moved here from Georgia, from the Atlanta, Georgia area. And to me, my husband, this reminds us of home. And we call it Georgia our home. It's where we moved from. So it has that feel to us. It feels very family oriented. We like being able to travel out west and go out and pick tomatoes and do stuff and things like that. And that's what you didn't get in Davie. So out of the two places, we like Davie, but this feels like home to us.
Interesting. I appreciate you telling us that. But tell I'm missing something. How does Boynton Beach remind you of Georgia?
For one thing, because I live on the far western, the very last aspect of the city of Boynton Beach, right? So there are no commercial buildings out here. It's all residential, right? So you go a little bit further, you just go past military, it turns country-ish,
right.
The stores have a different feel to them. The way of life is a little bit more relaxed. People just seem to be kind of more calmer. You got the turnpike, but you don't have this big freeway that's really close by. And so that's what it really reminds us. I mean, we go to Bednar's on the weekend and pick tomatoes, and stuff that you didn't do in Davie, or go out to the Loxahatchee and the park systems out here, the Green K and the Waukadahatchee are things that we didn't have in Broward County.
Yeah.
We have here, and we take advantage of those here.
Yeah, Broward's become much more urbanized, for sure.
It had a really nice home behind Flamingo Gardens.
Right.
And we're kind of forced out because of development reasons. And, our little one-lane road with more horses than cars on it went away.
Yep.
So that's what brought us up here.
We're running a little bit short of time here. I got a couple more quick questions, but I wanted to ask Aimee. This is the District 4 race. You have to live in District 4, but am I correct? Is it open to all voters in the city or just in the district?
No, it's just a district race. So
Right.
only voters in District 4 can vote.
Have you been going door to door and trying to meet voters one-on-one?
Yes.
What kinds of stuff do you hear when you go door to door that maybe, is sort of a revelation to you, if anything?
That I'm the first commissioner to knock on their door. That there's some residents that have lived here for 20 and 30 years, and they've never had their city commissioner knock on their door and just say hello and be interested in what they have to say. So it's been eye-opening for me. And it's one of the things, not to digress too much, but it kind of goes with what we're talking about, knocking on doors. One of the first kind of big things that came up after my appointment was a developer wanted to come in and they wanted the city to give them a bit of green space in the Meadows, which is one of our larger neighborhoods in Boynton in District 4. And immediately, as soon as that hit the wave bands, I was getting inundated with emails and phone calls from the residents of this neighborhood, and met with several of them personally in their homes, answered all the emails that this was a green space that needed to stay a green space, that they would fight tooth and nail to save this green space. And so we ultimately saved the green space, and we protected that with a restricted deed so that it won't be developed ever. And so then part of that was that then trickled into one of my things is being hands-on with the residents and knowing what they need and having town halls and meeting with the residents and knocking on doors and just letting them know that I'm here and that I really do care about what they care about and what they need.
Okay. Danny, I'm going to let you have the last word here.
Sure.
But of course, I'm curious to know if you have the time and the ability to also knock on doors and meet voters that you don't know yet.
Of course I do. I don't have the money in my campaign like the other two do. So I have been getting out there every day that I have off, and that's how I get my name out there. I physically been going through the Meadows, the lakes, the different communities. Can't really go into the gated communities. They don't want to let us in there. But that's how I've been doing it. So I've been taking a shoestring budget and figuring out what I need to do. So one of the ways of doing it is to be able to go out there and go door to door and talk to people. That's the one thing that I can do that doesn't involve any money. And it's been so helpful. I'll be honest with you, a lot of time people are scared with a stranger coming up to their door if you catch them off guard. And a lot of people don't want you up at their door. But once you start talking to people, then they start realizing, they start talking to you. And a lot of people just want to be able to talk to somebody and be able to tell them their issues and why they're having a hard time living and things like that. And that's all that they really want. They want somebody to respond to them. And, and that's what a commissioner should do. And not just during election time, but this should be done all year long.
Okay. All right. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us this afternoon very much. And if we have follow-up questions, Dan or I or Pat will be in touch. But thanks again. Thanks for the questionnaires. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Okay.
you for
Thank you
taking
very
the time.
much. I appreciate it.
Bye. So long.
Nice to see you.